Let me know if you can hear me. It's only the second time I'm using this microphone. What's up, Yassine? Can you hear me, brother? Can you hear me loud and clear? All right, good. Yeah. Warming up. Slowly but surely. All right, start 135. Now we're moving up to 225. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you, brother. All right. So the goal today is 3 sets of 6. And I think we're supposed to do 295 today. But because it's my birthday and I'm full of stupid decisions, why not just bump it up to 300? Just say fuck it. All right, 225. You can hear my knees popping. Man, getting old sucks. Yes, sir, it is. 41 years old today. All right. Let's see. So that's 225. Let's see, 25s. We'll make that 275. Yeah. We'll stick with a pattern. We'll do 295 today. I'm tempted. Appreciate you, Seem. And I appreciate you watching all the way from Algeria, I remember, if you said it correctly. All right, we're gonna wait for a hot second here. Since we're gonna do our 295 rhythm sets. Yeah. You know, I think every time I've done one of these workout streams, it's always been back day. So, what's up, Chris? How you doing, brother? I appreciate that, Chris. All right. I'll give about another minute, and we'll see how I'm feeling today. At 295, 3 sets of 6. Colonel Mazer, have you ever heard of Go to Feet training system? Anything about straight toes and hip something about straight toes and hip internal rotation, blah, blah, blah. Are you talking about when it comes to squats? Like where your feet are and where your hip rotation is and everything like that? Is that what you're talking about? Because what I tell people is when I'm training people how to do squats is you turn your hips, well, the space that you keep your feet, obviously you want it around shoulder width apart, and then how much you rotate your toes is, to be honest, is completely individual, because most people have a unique way their hips may be set. So not everybody's specific squatting style is going to be the same for everybody, because everything's sort of set up similarly. So what I tell people is just get to a position where you find your toes either straight, slightly out. Obviously, you don't really want them in, and then whatever feels most comfortable for you. No, because I'm not a fucking anime girl. All right, this is probably going to be painful because I honestly don't know how strong I fucking feel today. You know what? Fuck it. All right, here we go. Fucking 295. One more. All right, that wasn't bad. That honestly was better than I thought it was going to be. All right, 1 set of 6. Done. Yeah. You know what? Nah, fuck it. We'll stick with this. So we do this. We do 295 this week. 3 sets of 6. We get all 6. Then we're up to 300. And we just keep going up every 5 pounds every week. That's the best way. It's my favorite way to do progressive overload. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways. You can do rep ranges, 6 to 8, something like that. And then if you get to 8, you go up weight. If you are below 6, then you go down weight. So there's many different ways to do progressive overload training, but I like this one where you just kind of every single week you just come in, complete the rep ranges, or they complete the exact number of reps you need to do, and if you make it, then you go up in weight 5 pounds a week. I do this for almost every lift that I'm doing right now, and like for example, what did I just get up to? You'll see this later when we do hip thrusts. I think I'm at 415, and I actually go up 10 pounds every week on that. Yeah, you see, you actually don't want to do 12 to 15 rep ranges. They're just what they found in the last couple of years through studies. It's just not very effective. You know, you typically, unless you're doing powerlifting, you don't really want to go lower than 6. And I think what they found is like the best rep ranges is basically between 6 and 10. Anything past that, they're not exactly the best returns. But the most important part is that when you're lifting, you want to be lifting within 1 to 2 rep ranges, 1 to 2 reps of failure. So that's kind of like the goal. And I think through the studies, what they found is the most optimized rep range is I think 6 to 8. Yeah, 12 to 15. That's kind of like old school thinking where people are like, oh, it's going to help me tone up. Well, what they found is that that's not really the case. And it's actually just, you really don't get much out of it if you're going that high in rep range. Plus, who likes to count that high? If I'm under the bar and I have to count to fucking 15, that is extremely demotivating. That's one of the reasons I like these lower rep ranges between 6 and 8. So on my heavy lifts, I like to do 6. And then later in the day, some stuff that's like more form focused, I'll do like 8. Some I'll do 10. Like right now for hip thrusts, we're doing 10. All right. And then I try to do 2 to 3 minutes of rest, you know, in between. Because I think that's also what they found in the most recent studies the last couple of years. That's the most optimized way, because like old school hypertrophy was like 1 minute. But I think for strength, if you wait at least 3 minutes, majority of your strength will come back. But 5 minutes, you know, that's like powerlifter territory. And I'm not trying to be into the gym for fucking 3 hours, if you know what I mean. All right. Set number 2. All right, 295. 6 reps. All right, we tighten the core between each rep. One more. All right, set 2. Done. Honestly, cannot see this shit. Need to figure out. Need to get one of those cameras that go on the backside, so I can use the better side of my phone instead of having to use the shitty camera that's on the front part of my phone. And that way I control the lighting better, because gym lighting really kind of screws with everything. I appreciate that, Chris. Whew. Chris, I think I took a gander at your profile. From what I could tell, you're a big muscular boy. Also, I need to figure out how to play music and also stream. I don't know if that's a possibility. Obviously, I can Google it and figure it out, which I have not done yet. But it would be nice to listen to music like in my own ears, and then also be able to talk on said live. Oof. Daffy Kid, I appreciate that, brother. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, Chris. How old are you, if you don't mind my asking? I used to be bigger as well. I think, so when I joined the Army, I was like 180 pounds. And then I met a bodybuilder, and he convinced me that it was cool to be big, especially he said that chicks dig big buff guys, which later on I learned is more of a lie. Because when you get big and buff, the only people you really impress is other dudes, but it is what it is. But I probably, at my height, I went from 185, it took me about 5 years of just like natural, just eating, to get up to like 235. And then I think I peaked somewhere around 250. Oh, fuck you. 38 years young, Chris. That's what I'm talking about. So, but as I'm trying to slim down as well. Absolutely. Much better. And honestly, I like the way that I look when I'm lean. So I think I'm down to 220 now from like 235. Because I think for the longest time, I probably sat around like 235. So I'm down to like 220. I eventually went to get down to like, I think 210. 210, I should be able to sit. If I'm at 210, I'm pretty sure I could sit below either around like 10 or 8 or 9% body fat. I don't know how sustainable that is, but won't really know until I try it. All right. All right, third set. Third set, 295, 6 reps. Let's just fucking get it over with. What is it? No pain, no gain? Two more. Last one. There we go. All right, good. We're officially graduate from 295, and we get to do 300 next week. What's up, Sec? How you doing, brother? How's everybody doing today on this lovely Wednesday? Gym tip for anybody: don't be a tool and always rack the weights. Don't be that guy. I don't care how tired you are, rack the weights. It's the least you can do. All right. Now we're going to do RDLs. Some sweet Romanian deadlifts. Gonna move this trap bar though. So, at least we did one thing right today. I'm just gonna warm up with 135. So Romanian deadlifts. So I'm gonna do something. They actually say that for Romanian deadlifts, it's actually the one time you want to round your back. At least that helps to target the glutes a little bit better. And we're just gonna basically push our ass out. We're gonna feel in our hamstrings and our glutes. So actually rounding my back on purpose. All right, turn this a little bit. There we go. It's like I'm doing good, brother. Just doing legs on my birthday. Tayeb. No, I do not speak Arabic. I speak Farsi, but not Arabic. Which, to be honest, well, obviously they have some Persian uses Arabic root words, and it's written in Arabic text, but they actually do have a slightly different alphabet. All right. All right, we're gonna do 235 today, I believe. I need 5-pound plates. All right, and then when I get past 225, my grip starts to falter on these, so I actually like to use straps just because I don't want to be concentrating on my grip for RDLs. So, got these sweet VersaGrip straps, which I enjoy. You don't have to wrap them all the way around the bar. They just on your wrist, and there's just some nice thick leather with a little tab on the bottom. So just rotate around the bar, and I can hold like that. All right. You know, as much as I enjoy the results from leg days, it is definitely one of the more least enjoyable, you know. But, you know, isn't that a part of lifting and doing things that make you better? Because they're not comfortable. They're not easy. Because if they did, everybody would be doing them. I still have a cold. I'm struggling to breathe out through my nose without blowing snot bubbles. All right, so here's 235 Romanian deadlifts. All right, concentrating on pushing the butt out. I think that was 6. One more. All right. Oh yeah, absolutely, Chris. And I'm gonna be honest, I especially don't feel like it today. I wanted to sit in bed all day and do something unproductive, but because, you know, you have that excuse like, oh, it's my birthday, I can do what the fuck I want, right? You know, I think from anybody from experience knows that while that sounds like fun, I just end up regretting it later. So why not do something on my birthday that I will be proud of myself tomorrow after the fact? You know, obviously you should rest and relax, but why not at least, you know, get something done? And plus, it's been a while since I've actually gotten 300 pounds or hit the 300-pound mark on squats at 6 reps. So I'm definitely proud of myself for that, and also coming to the gym. So you see, that's a good question. So I feel like I have to choose one, right? Because anytime I go live, I have to choose one of these platforms. And I think that so I have to choose one of these platforms. And I think that the community that as much as I enjoy Instagram and all of these things like that, I feel like YouTube is where I want my content to grow the most. So I feel like that's the priority. So I don't, you know, unless there's some way to stream across multiple platforms. I think maybe if you had different phones, you know, you set them up each different one from each platform, I'd be able to do it that way. But other than that, yeah, I think YouTube's always going to be the priority, just because the type of content they want to do, which is like long form, value added, educational content. Suga, what's up, baby? How you doing? All right. Not gonna lie, started to feel it tighten on my right hamstring on the last one. So I just gotta be careful. Didn't pull or anything, but I can just feel it tighten a little bit. All right, so 235, 6 reps, remaining deadlifts. Alright, that was better. I think wasn't concentrating on holding the form as well on the first set, but I can feel the mind muscle connection a little bit better on that last one. Absolutely, Chris. Because, like, look, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't really drink during the week, and I try to keep it to, if I do drink, I drink once a week, and my goal is always have less than 3 drinks, like 1, maybe 2, but I only do it once a week. Because what we found recently, you guys don't know, alcohol is a poison, right? And so what they found is that alcohol, when it's introduced to your body, not only does it almost completely stop your fat burning process, because it prioritizes burning off the alcohol before it burns off any more fat. And that's, I think, the studies have shown that can be anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, I believe, but it also screws up your muscle synthesis. So, for someone who, old school, used to be like, I'd have like 1 bourbon or something like that, 1 night a week, little did I know that I was really inhibiting my fat burning and my muscle synthesis process. Anyways, so that's what I do. If I do drink only 1 time a week, and two less than 3 drinks. So last night, I ended up having a few drinks. And when I woke up this morning, instantly regretted it. I'm like, what was the point of that? Because, as much as I do enjoy drinking sometimes, it's not as enjoyable as the results that we see that we get from here. So, even I like anybody, everybody makes mistakes. And I'm always constantly learning from them. You're always weighing in your mind like the different motivations, how they play with or against the discipline that you try to instill. So that's one of the reasons when I got up, I was like, well, we're definitely fucking going to the gym today, just to make up for the bullshit from last night. Do you follow a macro-based diet? Yes. Well, so the thing that I concentrate on, it depends, right? When it's time to dial in, I'll concentrate on more stuff. But the main thing, all you need to do is know what your basic basal metabolic rate is, which is how much you burn, and then just calories in, calories out, and then just hit your target weight in protein. Those are the 2 main things. So at all times, those are the things that I'm always tracking. If I get closer to some sort of like competition or something that I want to do, like I want to be a certain level of body fat percentage for whatever event that's coming up, then I will dial it in to, track more of my carbs, my fats, and then I will even get into micros, like my mineral stuff like that, because that will help me optimize how I feel. But if at the very least, no matter what's going on, I track calories in, calories out, and I try to hit 220 grams of protein each day. Martin, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the sub. Yassine, you should consider streaming on Kick when you have more followers. It's a great platform with not many restrictions. To be honest, I don't really know that much about Kick. Like, what is Kick's niche, or like what is their thing about? Twitch is like gaming. TikTok has evolved. Instagram has in its own way, but like I'm not really. I feel like TikTok was always like the dancing app, and then Instagram was always like, oh, here's pictures, here's my thirst traps, right? And obviously YouTube has a very unique thing, but I feel like the other apps are trying to take the best of everybody and then create it all on one platform.
All right, last one. I can feel my back starting to tighten. All right, 235, remaining deadlifts. All right, push the butt out. Concentrate on holding those hamstrings. 2 more. Yeah, last one. All right. And because we're not a douche, we put away our weight. Okay. Fuck. Sorry, that's loud. All right. Time to go upstairs. Throw our stuff away. All right. Bear with me, everybody. We're going upstairs to the glute bridge hip thrust machine. Oh. You know, I'm definitely ready for this cold to be over. Not being able to breathe through your nose very effectively, especially for somebody who used to be a mouth breather, is really annoying. Absolutely, Chris. Yeah, blood pressure is definitely a big thing, which is definitely affected by, obviously understanding macros, but your macros and your macros. So would you target the weight and protein at a 1-to-1 ratio? Target weight, grams, grams of protein? Yeah, like, I think the general rule is like, just a general rule of thumb. Do 1 gram for every pound of body weight. So, there's, I think like, they say like 1.2, or I forget what the latest science on the full optimization of it is. But if you just generally, it's easy. Just do 1-to-1 ratio. So if your target weight, if you're like losing weight, especially if you're like a big guy and you're like 400 pounds, but you want to get down to 200, obviously you don't want to do 200 grams of protein. So that's where it comes in target body weight. So whatever it is, if you want to get down to 200 pounds or get up to 200 pounds, then you try to consume 200 grams of protein per day. And this actually helps you in a lot of different ways. So the body requires more energy to burn protein, so you will actually burn more calories taking protein. So it has so many added benefits, and that's why I say, like, whatever you're doing, 90% of it is tracking calories in, calories out, and your protein. Everything else like that is just fine tuning. All right, so that's 305. And look, don't shoot me. I understand that this bar itself may actually not be 45 pounds, but because I have a monkey brain and I count in a certain way when it comes to weightlifting, I just count it as 45. So 4 plates all on each side. That's 405. And I think we're doing 425 this week. Yeah, so I need 2 times. Oh, interesting. Well, I'll definitely have to look it up, you see. So, Kevin, that's a good question. So, the reason why, if you can, that you want to get protein from natural foods is they also, like, protein really just kind of brings in your protein. It doesn't bring a lot of the macros and micros that you need, especially like, and you get more of that from whole foods. And that's one of the reasons why, if you can get to it using whole foods, that's why you want to do it with whole foods. But if you can't, that's where you end up supplementing with like protein shakes and stuff like that. So your diet should not be just like protein shakes and protein bars. Try to get to whatever your target weight is with whole foods, and you'll be better off, if that makes sense. So do you lift every day? Almost. So what I do is I do a 3-day on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. So essentially work out 6 days in an 8-day cycle. All right. 425. All right. Hopefully my lower back doesn't get up. So this workout is all about the booty, because especially in 2025, soon to be 2026, you can never go wrong with a nice butt. So I know this is new to the concept of guys building big butts, but I'm all for it. This one we're doing 10. Squeeze the top. Nine. Slinky off that thing. I feel like that's my new metric, Chris, is anytime I finish a set, I come back and I look to whether or not Christy has given me a thumbs up or not. You know, to be honest, I feel like I should be paying Chris. Chris is like my online trainer now, which I appreciate. So, Paul, TRC, we're doing legs, baby. So we started with squats, we did RDLs. Now we're doing probably the biggest glute builder there is, which is the glute drive, glute bridge, glute bridges, yeah. What do they call these days? I think this machine says it's called the glute drive, but yeah, these are essentially glute bridges. Oof. All right, so give it 3 minutes, and then we will go again. Once again, I appreciate everybody. You know, slowly getting used to this. Getting used to being in a gym, recording. You know, it's always a little cringe. But fuck it. All right, I think we can get going. I like to get this thing nice and tight, and it sits on my hip bones and not on my stomach, because that's uncomfortable. I think that was 10. Sometimes it's a struggle to count. And I have clips on these. Gotta readjust. Thank you, Chris. So I think I probably had the same problem you did when I first started. And all I did was making sure that my knees, like the ratio when I was coming up, was like 90 degrees. And then going to the top and squeezing at the top. And then also doing it in a way where my lower back stopped hurting, which sort of took a little bit for me to build that lower back strength doing this particular exercise, because I used to feel it all the time, and now I don't feel as much. So just start from like lightweight, because I start really low, and it just kept going and going, and slowly it got a lot better. And I'm gonna be honest, I was doing your stereotypical guy workout. I would do legs, right? But most of it was like quad, hamstring, maybe one or glute exercise in there. But then when I switched to doing legs twice a week, and one of those being specifically a glute day, I probably had a bit of a flat ass, but I think I gained like 3 inches in size just in the last like 9 months to a year, just from doing specifically a full glute day. And I've gotten a bunch of comments from girls, which is funny because in 20 years of working out, probably the most amount of compliments I've gotten all in the last year, and they're all about the size of my glutes. So take that for what it is. So all right, so this last one. Luckily, this is of the 6, essentially the 6 lifts that I do. Every day I do 6 lifts. These 3, this is the end of the last heavy one, right? Oof. I can feel my lower back start to tighten. Oof. All right. Oh, Jesus.
I actually almost failed on that one. Whew. Well, we're definitely getting close to failure. But luckily, that was the third set. Suga, that's hilarious. I appreciate that. The military ass account. Alright. Yeah. Because you think about it, right? Maybe not so much the squats, but the RDLs and that particular exercise definitely put a lot of strain on the lower back. So it's tight right now. So no point in rushing this bullshit. Take your time. Plus, bitches, I'm retired. And it's my motherfucking birthday. Ain't nobody can tell me to do shit. So that's a good question, Suga. So the goal, right? You don't have to train to lift to failure every lift, right? But you do want to be within 1 to 2 reps of failure on every set. I feel like that right now, that's the best rule of thumb right now that all the current scientific studies support right now, as far as like what's good as far as diminishing returns. Exactly. Whew. All right. That actually helps a little bit. Me sitting on a little neutral. My lower back is tight as fuck. But you know, Suga, this is interesting because I used to train every set was the failure, right? Because that's kind of what the old methodology was and what a lot of the research at that time had supported, if you will. But, you know, that's the other thing is, this whole process, you got to keep an open mind. You got to stay on top of what's the latest and greatest, you know, research studies. And then anytime someone tells you something, you can be a skeptic. Be like, oh, that sounds great, right? But, you know, maybe I'll, you know, either wait till more peer-reviewed studies, either debunking it or confirming that come out, or you give it a shot, see how it feels for you. But at the end of the day, even if a scientist tells you like, hey, this is the best way, right? Don't immediately believe it. Be skeptic about everything, right? Give it a shot yourself, wait for more peer-reviewed studies, and then go from there. And I think that's one thing I think that a lot of the science-based lifters and social media has really helped, because anytime something new comes out, a lot of people have been able to debunk it pretty quickly, especially if it's bullshit. Thank you, Buck. I appreciate you, brother. All right, I think we are. All right, what are we doing next? So we've done 3 things. We want. Oh, I'm waiting for the. I'm gonna be honest, I'm waiting for the adductor and the abductor machine. Absolutely, Chris. I got introduced. Let's get up. Time to move. So I got introduced. So I got introduced to ice baths like 2010. So when I went to ISA, as soon as we finished OTC, we got to do this cool mentorship program with the Athletic Performance Institute. And they had all these really cool brand new facilities. And that's when I first got introduced to ice baths. And I started doing them. And if you can get used to them, I've always found them really beneficial. But I think they're great for recovery. But since we're on the subject, one of the things that I've been watching is there's been some recent studies that show that ice baths immediately following workouts actually screw up with the muscle synthesis process, right? And I was reading some literature on it, right? This goes back to what we were just talking about, right? So I'm not immediately going to start doing ice baths right after workouts just because one study comes out, but I will keep an open mind, especially as more studies come out about this, to whether or not this is the case, and then maybe I'll just adjust to doing ice baths, maybe not necessarily after the workout, but maybe like first thing in the morning, because I think those are amazing. All right. So on these ones, I like to lean forward because I feel like it hits the top shelf of the glute a little bit better versus sitting back like this. Oh yeah, I can definitely feel it all the way back here. This is a good exercise. And for these, I try to do 8. So yeah, how different is the ISA for the CAG OTC? It's actually very different. Obviously, I can't really talk about what goes on in the OTCs, but you have to understand that the units have different missions and the operators have different roles. So CAG's OTC is more geared to being an assaulter. ISA's OTC is geared towards other stuff. Unfortunately, that's all I can really say. But if you understand what ISA supposedly does, you can kind of get an idea of what the things they concentrate on, right? Like for example, we have a tactical phase, while most of CAG's is just different variations of their tactical. Like their whole OTC is pretty much all tactical. Only a portion of ours is tactical. But the cool thing is our tactical phase is actually done where CAG actually does their selection. So that's actually how I'm so intimately familiar with CAG's land nav courses, which are really, really hard, or they're very humbling. I thought I knew land nav until I went to CAG's land nav course. And yeah, that was an interesting first day. All right, second set. Yeah, so I hope that answered your question as much as it could, Sigurd. Sorry, I can't
can't give out more information. But yeah, Chris, if you haven't seen that, I would Google it. Google the about the ice baths not being as good to do right after your workouts. So I didn't dive too much into it, but I could just kind of get the basis out of what they were getting at. And to be honest, the way they portrayed it, it made sense, right? Yeah. Should have drop weight. He's an interesting. So all the other leg machines that I plan to do, there's actually a line for each one of them, and I actually have Callie in the car. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this a little short, and then we're gonna go to Stairmaster. Oh, you know what I'm gonna try to do? Is I always feel like every time I do the Stairmaster, there's always a light right above my head that gets in the way. So I might try to attach this thing still to this selfie stick or the tripod and see if I can get the camera not in the fucking light. We'll see here in a second. All right. I don't think that's gonna fit actually. Brianna, thank you, appreciate you. All right, this one's not so bad. That other gym that I was doing this at, the other One Life Fitness in Brambleton, Virginia, was much more difficult, or as far as the lighting goes. All right, 10 minutes at level 11. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You know, either you're a troll or you think that sounds cool. Which, I got nothing for you at that point if it does. Because, you know, when you try to be like too artsy with your language, it just sounded like word salad. Doesn't sound cool, you know, maybe because I'm not the smartest person in the world and you're using words that are too big for me, which it is what it is. But also, something I've learned is anybody who uses so many big words in either a single statement is the same thing as someone trying to prove to everybody that they're intelligent, in the same way that anybody who says there's a badass is talking about how they're a badass. They're not actually a badass. You know, every time I've ever met somebody who intentionally uses like a lot of big words, which are unnecessary. I'm just like, bro, you're just trying too hard. And there's actually some really good public speaking coaches, and they actually specifically tell you, don't do that. Don't use too big of words. You want to relate to your audience and control your cadence, your speech. Accentuate certain words, pause for effect, and use language that people understand. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Rasa. Yeah. Everybody knows Andrew Tate. My thoughts on Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, I believe, he's a character. I think he thinks a certain way, but I think he exaggerates it a bit to play sort of a character, which gets lots of views and subscriptions. I understand where a lot of his views come from. Do I agree with all of them? No. Do I agree with certain aspects? Yeah. But I can say that about a lot of people. You know, there are people who are on the opposite end of the things that I can agree with certain things that they say and not agree with other things. Thoughts on Dominic Lewinsky? I haven't really delved into it, but the shit sounds hilarious. What's up, Josina? John Doe. Thoughts on JTF2? What is JTF2? Yeah, he's definitely a fighter, Chris. Yeah, you can watch his videos. The dude definitely knows how to kick some ass, you know? There's no doubt there. In kickboxing, if anybody knows. Oh, that's right, Canada Special Ops. To be honest, I've never really worked with them tactically. I was once on a deployment, and I worked with one of the JTF2 guys, their liaison to the jock, if you will. And that's the only time I ever worked with Canadians. Chris, I agree. I think when you're too controversial, you know, look, I get it. He's unapologetically himself, which I respect. Whether or not I agree or disagree with what he says. But when you're too controversial, you can take away from your message. Instead of concentrating on your message, people concentrate on the controversial shit you do. Which I think is probably why to give one of the faults to Trump, is that him being as controversial as he is in the certain ways he does things takes away from his message and what he's trying to do, or at least it distracts people. All right, 6 minutes in. Eduardo, what is that, Portuguese? You see, that is a great question. I have a musical taste of a 13-year-old girl. I listen to, like when I work out, I listen to like Miley Cyrus, Celine Dion, Party in the USA, stuff like that. I like upbeat music like that. Chris, I appreciate it. What is that, Spanish then, right? Well, Linda, or Eduardo, I appreciate it, brother. All right, 7 minutes. Less than 3 minutes left. All right. Absolutely. To be honest with you, I think more people listen to teenage music than they care to admit. I openly admit it. I enjoy it. Love that upbeat shit. Absolutely. All right, 2 minutes left. I wish I could breathe through my nose right now. Do you EDC a tourniquet as a civilian? EDC? Don't assume I know these acronyms too good. Absolutely. All right, 1 minute. All right, 30 seconds. All right, and we are done. Whew. That was harder than I thought it was going to be. All right, let's go see Callie. She's waiting in the car. Those are always harder to do on leg days. Because I feel in my lower back, I feel my quad, my hamstring, and my glutes. I'm both drinking last night. Didn't help. Thank you. Sorry about that. Whew. Suga, not really. I think of all the places outside of Germany that you can get stationed for in the Army, the Pacific Northwest is one of the better ones. But I like sunlight. I like it not to rain all the time. Whew. All right, everybody say hi to Callie. Did you have a nice nap? Whew. All right. I appreciate everybody. She's a little lethargic. So you can see she's got problems with her eye. We think the lymphoma got into her eye, even though all the other cancer markers said it should have been controlled, but she means she has some sort of unique variant that even though it's being controlled, it somehow spread. So yeah, so we're having issues, but we're working on it. They've got some things they're going to try, and we're going to give it the best shot. So anyways, I appreciate everybody. Thank you again. Thank you, Suga. Thank you, Chris. And I'll talk to you guys later.